Now that we have laid all our track and built all our ramps, we need to get started on the redstone wiring. And I think when you're doing kind of more complicated circuits like this, it's a good idea not to try to think about the circuit as a whole, but instead sort of break it down into parts and try to just think what each individual piece you're currently building is trying to accomplish. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So when we have a new cart enter the station, the first thing that's going to happen is that we're going to press this first detector rail, which will activate our arrival zone's passenger detection system. And so once that passenger detection system is turned on, but has not yet been turned off by the second detector rail, we know that there is a cart currently on the platform. So when we know a cart is on the platform, there are a couple things that need to happen. One, we need to switch our track piece, so any new incoming carts will be redirected to our holding system. And two, we need to deactivate these tracks, so any cart that comes through our waiting system and lands in this final slot does not get sent onto our platform. So let's do the track switching first, and so that's just a matter of running a line of redstone from our RS NOR latch that controls our passenger detection system all the way down to that track piece. So this is our RS NOR latch. Now previously I have gone ahead and activated the passenger detection system, so this is the state of the RS NOR latch when the detection system is active, and we can just run a current directly off of this line of redstone. So to do that is just a matter of running redstone, and another nice reason to have an active redstone line when you're doing the wiring is so you can know when you need to place a repeater. So just continue this on. And so when you see the redstone no longer is emitting kind of little bubbles and particles, you know that's where you need to put in a repeater. And then I should also point out that I'm not building this in the most direct path. I'm kind of coming along the back of our pit here, just so we'll have room for redstone later to control the ramps themselves. So another repeater here. Alright, and so now we can run right down this little tunnel I've already dug, and then we can drop a torch. Now since we have an active redstone current going into our torch that's deactivating our torch, and we need to go up and check and see if our track is in the correct alignment with a deactivated torch under it. So currently it is not. This track piece is currently in the alignment that it needs to be to skip the passenger detection system. So we need to go and drop in an inverter in our line of redstone here. That way we have an active torch whenever the line of redstone coming from our passenger detection RS NOR latch is also active. So I can do that just by digging a hole, sticking redstone in it, and then on the opposite side dropping in a torch, just like that. So from here we can go ahead and take a look at our final tracks here. And so we know we want those tracks to be deactivated whenever our passenger detection system is on, and conversely we want these to be active whenever our passenger system is off, so that the cart in this last slot here gets sent whenever our passenger detection system gets turned off. So once again, that's just kind of a matter of running redstone into place here and dropping a torch underneath our track pieces. Now again, active redstone into a torch will turn that torch off, so when our passenger detection system is active, that torch will be inactive. Alright, so that is kind of the first step here. Now we need to actually go and build the redstone that will control the carts as they go through the ramps. So for every slot here we have a detector rail before the slot and after the slot. And if you think about what happens when a cart enters a slot, it's going to pass over the first detector rail here, go up the ramp, and land on the track pieces. So we know that when this first detector rail has been pressed, that means there is a cart currently in this slot, and when the second detector rail has been pressed, that means a cart has exited the slot. So because of that, we basically just need to save the state of the button press here. So even though this detector rail will no longer be pressed after the cart passes over it, we want to save that state and use it to control the powered rails of the previous slot. So that is basically just an RS NOR latch. And one thing you'll notice immediately, if we just run redstone directly from this detector rail, we're going to intersect with the previous line of redstone we've already laid. So what we need to do is build a very simple redstone bridge, and that's just a matter of placing 3 blocks in a line, placing redstone, and then where the 2 redstone lines intersect, we drop in a repeater, because repeaters are only affected by redstone entering the back of the repeater, not from either side. And then we can just continue the redstone down the blocks here. But you'll see that on this side we have an active line of redstone, and on the opposite side we have an inactive line. So what we need to do is drop in a repeater on the opposite side, and that will kind of draw current through this middle block. So from here we can just build our RS NOR latch, and I'm using kind of the more spaced out version of the RS NOR latch just because it has fewer conflicts with kind of the power, the current sort of flowing back along the input line. This kind of isolates the status of the RS NOR latch. So when this line receives input, we don't kind of have redstone flowing back along the original line. So this is the RS NOR latch I'm going to be using. And so our next input for this RS NOR latch needs to come from the detector rail before the ramp. So again, we'll have crossing redstone currents, so I'll go ahead and build a bridge here. And then just run the line from that detector rail down to the opposite side of the RS NOR latch, just like that. Okay, so that'll save the state of our button presses, but now we need to power these tracks, the tracks to the previous slot. So the tracks in this last slot here are controlled by our passenger detection system, but the tracks for the previous slot are going to be controlled by our RS NOR latch. The reason for that is when the button's pressed, we know that there's a cart on this platform, and so we want to deactivate these tracks so we don't get a cart sent out to an occupied slot. Looks like we got some weather here. Oops. Okay, so now that I got the weather fixed, so now we need to run redstone over to these tracks, and we can do that using the input from the output from our RS NOR latch. So that's just a matter of running over here, going through our redstone bridge, and then over to where we'll place our torch for our track piece. And since this RS NOR latch, when this button, the button after the last ramp here is pressed, we will put our RS NOR latch into this particular state, which means that this torch will be deactivated, which will unpower this line of redstone and allow this torch to come on. So when that final button is pressed, we know that a cart has cleared this last slot, so we want that torch down here to come on, which it is currently. So from here, it's really just a matter of kind of repeating what we've already done with a second RS NOR latch, which we can just run down here and build. And then again, we'll have crossing redstone. And then we'll run the output the same way we have previously. So and then drop a torch under our track pieces. And really that is the completed redstone circuitry. Now this is a fairly modular system, so I've only got 3 slots here just to kind of show the basic pattern. If you wanted more slots, you could of course continue with the RS NOR latches, the detector rails, and then the torch under the track pieces in the same way that we already have here. So from here we can kind of do some testing. And now that we've built that, because we were just kind of building those as we went along, our RS NOR latches may be kind of in the wrong state from where we want them. So it's a good idea to go and just sort of drop a cart on each detector rail in succession, and that will activate and deactivate the tracks in order. So when I drop a cart here, that means that a cart has entered this last ramp, so these tracks get deactivated. But when I drop a cart on this final piece here, that means that a cart has left this slot, so these tracks get reactivated to send the next cart to this slot. Now, the final thing I'll point out here is if we leave the system the way it currently is, we'll run into a problem. You can see as we exit this last slot here, we press this detector rail almost immediately, which will immediately send out the cart that's in the previous slot. However, these final powered rails are controlled by our passenger detection system that's all the way up here. So the cart leaving this last slot has a much farther distance to travel than the cart in the immediately previous slot. So what will happen is these rails will still be active because our passenger detection system has not been reactivated. And so these powered rails will be active when our next cart comes through, and it'll come up and hit an active powered rail and then go ahead and dispense 2 carts. So that's pretty easy to fix. Basically, we just want to delay the output from this button so we don't activate these previous tracks until the cart has time to make it up to our arrival platform. And so that's just a matter of redstone repeaters, which we can drop in. We already have one as part of a redstone bridge, so I can go ahead and set that to its longest delay, and then just come back and set all those others to their longest delay. Now we may also want to go in and kind of fill in some powered tracks along here. These are currently unpowered, so I just need to drop a torch in to make sure that those get power. And that'll just ensure that our cart, since it may be an empty cart if somebody leaves our system early, it'll have plenty of momentum to make it up there before the next cart is sent out. So that should be basically done at this point. Let's drop a cart on this last one, and let's go ahead and deactivate our passenger detection system just by dropping a cart on this final detector rail. At this point, we can just do a simple test of it. So we can come down here and send a cart through. So here goes the first cart, and once it makes it all the way to our arrival platform, we should see this track piece switch. So there it goes, and now our track piece is switched. So the next cart that goes through a system will get rediverted to the waiting system, and you can see as it goes through, it's activating and then deactivating all the rails in succession. And then we'll send one more cart through just for testing purposes. Okay, so now this next cart, because these rails were deactivated since we already sent a cart over this detector rail, this cart will stay in the previous slot and won't bump down to this final slot here. So now we can start unloading carts from our system. And so there comes the first one. You can see the delay before the next one is advanced to slot. And then when we clear off the platform again, the next one gets sent to the platform. And now when I clear out this final cart, we will get all our ramps activated. So see, they're all active. And then our track piece is swapped back, so any new additional carts will get directed to the bypass line. So there we go. That's basically it. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and I'll do my best to help out. Thanks for watching.